So yeah, let's dive into it. So I want to start with a mini session. And as I go through this mini session, something I want to say is as I'm teaching this, if you have a topic or something that's always been like a roadblock for you as you are working away from the diet industry, diet culture, or recovering from your eating disorder, if there's something that makes it really hard, um, or again, just makes it seem like it gets you looped back into dieting, I would love to help you with that part. Like that's where I found um, my work really focusing on were these tough spots in recovery. And yeah, like for the majority of the one-on-one work I did, it was not so much with clients who were going through easy kind of managing recovery. It was mostly folks who were in crisis and then finding ways to get to a place where it was calmer. And a lot of times folks have either identities or conditions or living situations where it's like there's so many variables that they can't control that we had to just figure out ways to navigate. So yeah, so that's where all these mini sessions come from. And yeah, let me know if you're experiencing something like that. Pop it in the chat, direct message me, email me, whatever works for you. I would love to help. So one thing I talk a lot about in the Find Your Food Voice book, which right next to me, this is my daughter read my Find Your Food Voice book, which is so awesome, right? There's something so cute about it to me. And I show you the little tabs because she annotated it. It's a thing these kids are doing today. She's 17 and she read it for like a book report. And her let's see, what class was this? I don't know. It's some kind of like AP language and something like that kind of class. And each month they did some report on a book, and it was a North Carolina author, and her teacher let her do my book. I thought it was so great. And yeah, seeing the things that she chose to underline was just super special to me. So this is now my prize copy of my book. But I mention all this because in the Find Your Food Voice book, I talk a lot about how to navigate things like intense cravings for foods. And I know a lot of people use terms like that, like food noise to describe when their cravings for food are really intense. And there could be lots of different ways that you can think to describe it, of course. But for people who have insulin resistance, intense food cravings are a big part of that experience. And even outside of the term food noise, it's something that I've heard so frequently over the years. And especially in circles with people with PCOS, we would often talk about these intense carb cravings. So in the book, I talk a lot about things you can add to your life to help the cravings just not be so primal. So like sometimes people would say they like it felt like animalistic, just like these cravings for foods were just so intense and they just felt like out of their mind. And that's physiology combined with dieting. That's what happens. So someone who doesn't have any insulin issues and not eating enough, they're going to have intense carb cravings. But when you combine the physiology of insulin resistance, especially PCOS, well, yeah, it's going to feel primal. Like every cell in your body is saying like, I have to eat carbs right now or I'm literally going to die. And there's a reason because like your body thinks you are starving and for many of you you are, and then you have that again that physiology on top. So I talk a lot about in the book, like adding certain supplements, talking to your doctor about certain medications. But before all of that, you want to figure out if you actually even have insulin resistance or have some issues with insulin. And many people would go to their doctor and ask their doctor, do I have insulin resistance because I have these intense cravings? And what so many people, they were dismissed basically. So many people were just told, listen, you just need to eat less, you need to exercise more, your A1C is normal, so you don't have any issues with insulin. And I would constantly be hitting my head against the wall because I was like, really, again? And here's why. When you have PCOS or insulin resistance, but especially PCOS, insulin levels are so high then an A1C is going to be normal. And I think it's important to know a little bit about these tests because let's just face it, like, healthcare is so married to weight loss as the way to cure health problems that people get steered in directions that I don't agree with. And if you understand the test a little bit more, I think it helps you advocate better for yourself. You shouldn't have to do all this work, FYI. Like, you don't have a medical degree, nor do I, but we need to like figure out ways to navigate these systems that are just so problematic. And understanding some of these tests, I think, is a really good way for you to do that. But an A1C, which stands for hemoglobin A1C, is a common test in the diabetes world. And it's a way to screen for higher blood sugars. And it's not something that tells you your blood sugar, your insulin is out of range right in that moment. It is a picture really over the last 3 months. Technically, a hemoglobin A1C is, and my internet is unstable, so let's hope we hang on here. It's raining, so of course, that's what happens here. Anyway, an A1C is technically a graduated average of your blood sugar over the last 3 months. So it's mostly the last month, but also holds on to a little bit of the 2 months before that. And it's just your blood sugar. And when you have very high insulin levels, like most people with PCOS do, your insulin levels are so high that it compensates, that it doesn't show up in the A1C. Because remember, that's just really this big picture. And so if your blood sugar is high or low, it's like looking at this average of it. And because there's so much insulin, whenever the blood sugar is high, the insulin eventually works, basically. It just takes longer, and you have all these kind of consequences from it, these intense carb cravings. So there's like this lag time where insulin is staying really high and blood sugar isn't high anymore. And so this discrepancy in range makes your body just have these intense primal cravings. And I think it's really important to know that. And so if your doctor says, oh, you don't have insulin resistance because your A1C is normal, you decide how you want to counteract that. But, you can ask for a test that is technically now being called an IR test, which stands for insulin resistance. But over the years, it was called a HOMA IR, which I can't remember exactly what. I always forget. I have to look it up. But it's a test that looks at your fasting insulin and your fasting blood sugar and puts it through a calculation to come up with a number. And it can show you basically how much insulin your body needs to make in order for blood sugar to come down into normal range. And I know that using letters like that is really confusing in an audio situation. So I'll put in the follow-up from this video, I'll put like a little bit of information about this lab test so you can look into it yourself. And why not test fasting insulin? That's something that we actually did for a long time, but it was a test that's not super reliable for similar reasons as the A1C. A fasting insulin is not like a fasting blood sugar. A fasting blood sugar does tell you your blood sugar right at that moment. It's like, at this moment, your blood sugar is 92. Like, it'll tell you an exact number, and that is actually the amount in that time period, although it's not exact. When you get your blood sugar checked, there's ranges of error that every glucometer has. I don't remember for each one now. I was a diabetes educator, eons ago, but yeah, so it's not exact. But anyway, a fasting insulin is not in that moment. A fasting insulin is just an average over the last 3 weeks. So that's why fasting insulin was not reliable either. And doctors didn't like using it. And it also used to be so expensive in the United States to get a fasting insulin. So with that being said, they now have this HOMA IR test. And unfortunately, many of my clients get pushback from their doctors. And if they have the ability to do it, sometimes they'll just go to a LabCorp or some kind of like place where they can get labs done and pay for it out of pocket. This HOMA IR test is becoming more accessible. It's decreasing in price a lot over the last few years. And while, I as a dietitian can't give people any diagnostic information from a test, a person can use that themselves just to know, okay, is this intervention? Like adding the supplement, is it helping my insulin levels? You can track it with this lab if you want, especially if you're not getting the care you need from your doctor, or if it's traumatic to go to the doctor. You know, you do what you need to do to prevent further trauma, but also take care of your health. So I hope that helps. That is one of the most common questions I get in PCOS circles, like in my PCOS membership. People are asking me this all the time. Like, my doctor just said I don't have insulin resistance because my A1C is normal. And yeah. So what I will encourage you to do is, if you hear this from a friend or a colleague, also just spread the information far and wide so more people can get diagnosed with insulin resistance so they can get the treatment they need. And what those treatments look like, it's something that I talk more in the Find Your Food Voice book, and also in my Substack, I talk a lot about interventions that you can do. Now, if you have PCOS, I have a PCOS membership as well, where we talk about specific supplements and foods to add. I hope it goes without saying, but any education I do, no matter what condition it is, it's always weight inclusive and non-diet. And specifically with PCOS, I do think diets hurt you with PCOS more than everybody else. And I will die on that hill because of the physiology with PCOS. Anyway, so in my PCOS Power membership, we do talk about like specific interventions, but I'm going to be doing some updates on that in my Substack. So be on the lookout for it. I'm slowly but surely behind the scenes writing more on like inositol updates, other kind of supplements with PCOS, lab values outside of this home IR. There's lots of different labs that I recommend people get every year. So I also think that I will have a mini session coming up on what to do with insulin resistance, period. Like, how do you find your food voice while also experiencing these primal cravings? I think that'd be a really good mini session. So that's my mini session for today. I hope it was helpful. And I want to also update you, though, on what I am writing this week. I just forgot what I was going to tell you. Let's see. Okay. I have been thinking a lot about insulin in particular because I am writing for two publications this week. One's on Project Heal, and one is Jessica Thiel's Nope, Not Normal Substack. And those are two places that I was invited to guest blog, or whatever we're calling ourselves these days. And definitely check out Tamisha Campbell's Substack, because I was felt really lucky to be interviewed about my book on Tamisha's Substack. So you can check out that there. But on these two in particular, they are focused on insulin resistance. And the Project Heal website, their blog, I'm writing on, so you've been told to cut out carbs, now what? So if you have PCOS or diabetes, I am writing this for you. If you are trying to continue to recover from your eating disorder, rather, and just get diagnosed with this PCOS or diabetes, and your doctor is like giving you those standard directions, just cut out carbs and sugar, but you are recovering from eating disorder, like cutting out something, just holding that narrative in your head is enough for, I know, many people, for a relapse to happen. So I'm writing that one for you. And the other one is the fine line between PCOS treatment and disordered eating. And that's over on Jessica Thiel's Substack, which is called Nope, Not Normal. That's also the name of her podcast, which is excellent. Definitely check it out. I highly recommend her work as well. And so those are coming out sometime in June, I believe, for both of those. But I have deadlines for both of them this week, so they'll be finished. And then lastly, the podcast, I was supposed to have a podcast drop tomorrow, and it was going to be all about Mel Robbins. So I don't know if you know this, but Vox interviewed me about a viral video that came out from Mel Robbins' podcast, where she was interviewing someone talking about midlife and menopause, and how every woman should be able to do 11 push-ups. And they were very adamant, like, this is a must. And it just shook me, because I'm like, wait, anything that rigid, like, oh, you must be able to do this. The way that it came across was very like pro marketing, like if you don't have time because you have to go to work, then you need to get up earlier. If you don't have time before work, then you need to not watch TV at night and work on these push-ups. Right? It was basically like cut out any free time because this is the most important thing you need to do. This is just a trend of how diet culture is coming back into this like cyclical kind of predictable push towards the thin ideal after we had this almost there, like all body sizes are worthy and deserve dignity, like we had in the 2010s. We know we were coming along. It's like this is the next cycle of pushback against that. And I was talking to my boyfriend Jorge this weekend, and we were talking a lot about like the cycles of history and the horrors of like the Trump administration, and how some historians are saying like this is like the big pushback before we finally move into more liberation for more people. And it makes sense that the diet industry and diet culture are mimicking what's happening in the world. So this 11 push-ups thing is just the predictable shit that we are seeing in the rest of like the political climate, and how certain bodies are more prioritized, and how people can be very frank about their opinions about that and get away with it. So yeah, like sometimes people I can hear people be like, Julie, you're taking it too far. But I've been doing that for the last 50 years. I'm not going to stop. And I think that there's something to this. So no, you don't have to do 11 push-ups. But anyway, the reason why I'm bringing up this podcast episode, or this Vox article rather, is because my team and I, Rachel and Colleen, we had planned to record an episode last week where we could talk all about this Vox piece where, and then this Mel Robbins recommendation that we should all be doing 11 push-ups, but also Mel Robbins in particular, and talking about how this kind of return to kind of the bro marketing, and there's got to be a better phrase than that, but that's what I think of, someone who's been working in the online space for 20 years. So much of the coaching I received like while building my business was like, just get up at 5 a.m. And that's a hell of a no for me. I'm not going to be getting up at 5 a.m. Ever, unless I have to catch an airplane to go somewhere really cool. Anyway, I digress. There's like less push for rest and art and pleasure right now. There's more of no pain, no gain. And I think, yeah, Mel Robbins is just more of that. And I don't like it. My team doesn't like it. And just to kind of fall in line with all of this, the day that we had set to record last week, I got a notice that my power was going to be out. And so my team and I had to decide, are we going to try to do it the next day and like rearrange our schedules? And it became very clear that we were going to have to really like hustle and grind in order to that to happen. Or I could hurry up, and I have a couple interviews that are already done, but I just haven't finished the episode, just the solo parts. I could rearrange my schedule and get one of those ready to drop tomorrow. And I hope you know where I'm going with this, but like my team and I were like, we don't like the hustle and grind. Why are we doing that? That's just going to make us all like unwell. For what? Like, this is a podcast that I own, and like I get to decide how I want to do it. So we were like, you know what? Let's just push it. So we are recording this week, and it will come out next week. And so yeah, so look for that next week instead of tomorrow. It is the episode that'll be titled "You Don't Need to Do 11 Push-Ups," and all things Mel Robbins. Like I said, Colleen Bremner and Rachel Popik will be joining me to talk about it. If you don't know them, they are two really great individuals. They're not on Substack, but they are two fat activists that are in completely different fields, and but happen to be best friends. So it's really great in that way. Colleen is someone that started working with me, helping me with some admin and writing emails and things like that over like over 4 years ago. And she's someone that is plus size and really into like musical theater. She calls herself a hype woman extraordinaire and so lovely. And she's an Enneagram 2 and I'm a 4. And as an Enneagram 4, if anyone here is an Enneagram 4, I know you know this, but I need Enneagram 2s around me because they're the ones that like pump me up to go out and include me when I'm in my like hermit hole. So Colleen's been a great addition to the team. And we've done monthly diet culture IRL segments. And over the years, it's evolved into we needed more help on our team. And Rachel was someone that joined us as I was launching the PCOS Power membership. And Rachel is someone who has PCOS, which I love having someone that's helping me run the community who actually has the condition. But also, Rachel is an anti-diet chef. And you can hire her to, especially if you live near her area. She lives in Pennsylvania. You can hire her to help with just like helping with like meal prep, but also if you are someone that wants to get back into the kitchen, but you are recovering from an eating disorder and it's really complicated, Rachel is someone that can help you like recover and like find joy in cooking again. It's such a wonderful service that she provides. Tamisha, I love seeing your comment here. She says, I'm an Enneagram 2 with a 3 wings, so get it. Love it. So, Tamisha, you need to know the Enneagrams 4, we love you in our life. I have a feeling you are similar to Colleen, and you also are this like hype person in your friends' lives. And I think that Colleen is also a 2 with a 3 wing. I kind of get that vibe, although, you know, I'll let her decide. But yeah, 2s are like the helpers, right? So y'all help us, and I always appreciate it. And I think Rachel is someone we haven't been able to figure out yet. And like, you know, it's something with Enneagram. It's really important to not like tell somebody what number they are. They have to figure out themselves. And so we've just been kind of waiting. But Yelly Cruz is someone else who worked with me for many years. And she is out of Canada and I think Toronto specifically. But she worked with me and helped with tons of like the podcast production. And she's an Enneagram 1 with a 2 wing. And so when I interviewed her, she's like, I love Excel spreadsheets. And I was like, hired. That's exactly what I need. Because like an Excel spreadsheet is where my energy goes to die. Anyway, so Yelly is someone who works in publishing. So I don't know. She's also a really great person to know. I don't know if she's doing anything like sometimes she does podcasts too. So if you ever see her being interviewed in a podcast, definitely catch it out. She's fabulous. All right, so I'm going to sign up for today. Thank you for joining me live. It means so much. And if you are watching the replay, if there's any topic that you are finding just is so irritating to you and you're eating disorder recovery or in breaking up with dieting, I would love to cover it in a mini session if I can help. And yeah, put it in the comments. I'll see it, or put it in the Voice Finder chat. I will see it there. Or you can DM me, email me, any of those. And while you're there, definitely go over to the Voice Finder chat. That's where we are doing the book discussion questions. And you know, you can definitely put your answers to any of the book club questions in the post that I'm putting in there. And the chat is just a little bit more cozy. So I also have one over there if you want to answer the questions to help you as you're going through the Find Your Food Voice book. All right, I'm going to sign off like I said. And if you are off today because it's Memorial Day, I hope you have a very relaxing day. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.